and together. And if you have any questions or if you're like, I got that one wrong, please make sure that you ask. Evaporation is the change from a liquid to a gas. Condensation is the change from a gas to a liquid. Precipitation is falling moisture, right, from the sky. Crystallization, you don't have this as an actual term, but really we need to use it when we talk about freezing, the freezing of water droplets, like snow or frost. Runoff is precipitation that does not soak into the ground. Transpiration is water vapor given off by a plant. Dew is water droplets formed by condensation of water vapor condensing on an object with a cool surface. Frost, ice crystals formed by water vapor condensing on an object at or below 0 degrees or Celsius or 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Fog is suspended tiny water droplets or ice crystals in an air layer next to Earth's surface that reduces visibility. Fog is really just a cloud on the ground. Move this up a little bit. All right, wind is the movement of air. Cloud is a visible mass of ice or water particles high in the air. Remember, it can be ice or water particles. Air mass is a large body of air with similar properties. A front is where two air masses meet. A cold front is at the edge of a cold air mass, warm front, edge of a warm air mass. Wind vane is used to show the direction of the wind. This is like with the chicken in the north, south, east, west. Anemometer is used to measure wind speed, kind of like a pinwheel. Barometer is used to measure high and low pressure. Remember, if you get high pressure, you have clear, dry weather. If you have low pressure, you have lousy weather. A rain gauge measures the amount of rain, and a weather balloon is used to measure winds and gather weather data high in the atmosphere. Any questions on this page? All right, I'll start the next page. The jet stream is a narrow band of fast-moving air near the top of the troposphere, and that is actually what drives our weather from west to east in the United States or in the northern hemisphere, okay? Lake effect, whether it be rain or snow, is a weather phenomenon created when dry, cold air picks up moisture and heat by passing over a warmer lake, and then it dumps its precipitation when it reaches the cooler land. Snowbelt is a region found downwind of the Great Lakes where there is heavy snowfall. Climate, it's the average weather conditions in an area over a long period of time. Weather is the daily state of the atmosphere or air at any given place. Hopefully you were able to label the diagram of the water cycle. So here we have precipitation, here we have transpiration, here we have some runoff, here we have surface water, here we have evaporation, and then here we have condensation being clouds. And then, of course, that cycle continues. So you should be able to answer the following questions. Number one, what are the two factors that keep water cycling on Earth? Energy from the sun is actually where heat comes from, right? So that is a real driving force of evaporation, right? And the force of gravity, right, brings precipitation down to Earth. So the sun and gravity, big players in the water cycle. Number two, at what stage in the water cycle might the term crystallization be used? Remember, crystallization is not in the diagram above. So it would be used in precipitation, like if it was snowing. Okay. So number three, what are the four weather conditions that result from condensation? That would be fog, dew, frost, and clouds. Number four says explain how a cloud is formed and why snow can never be clean. Remember when I sent you out there to go get some clean snow and then you watched it melt and you said it was gross or dirty or there was stuff in it? It's not that you didn't get clean snow. Remember, it's that clouds are formed when rising air is cooled and the water vapor condenses on tiny particles. Remember? Tiny particles of like dust or pollution, salt, ashes from volcanoes. They're not clean. And as they come down through the air, they take down any dust that would be in the air with them. So not everything is as clean and as it appears. Number five, explain how wind prevents dew, frost, and fog from forming. Well, dew, frost, and fog need to settle, right? So very little motion going on. And wind doesn't allow the air to stay in contact with the ground very long, and certainly not long enough for fog or dew or frost to form. So quite often, if you think about it, fog, it's not windy, okay? When we get frost, it's not windy where the frost occurs. And so that is what stops it. Any questions on that page? All right, I know this was a long one, but we have a lot of review. We learned a lot of material this time. Number 6, what type of weather might occur with a cold front? Cold fronts bring cool air and fair weather. Number 7, what type of weather might come with an occluded front? That would be strong winds and heavy precipitation. Number 8, what type of weather might happen if a warm, humid air mass slides up and over a cold air mass? We might get a gentle rain or a light snow, followed by warmer, milder weather. This is just looking at your fronts, okay? So that would be a warm front. Number 9, when looking at a weather map, how can the movement of an air mass be represented? So movement of an air mass can be represented by fronts that point in the direction that they're headed, right? So the air mass is behind the front. Remember, a front is a boundary of an air mass. You had to think for this one. Number 10, how is wind direction and speed related to weather prediction? If wind direction and speed are known, then weather carried by the wind, right, can be tracked and predicted. We know how fast it can get somewhere, how fast the wind is blowing, and where it's coming from. Number 11, what instrument is used to measure air pressure, and what kinds of weather can be predicted if the pressure is changing from high to low or low to high? So a barometer is that instrument that measures air pressure. If pressure changes from high to low, then precipitation can be predicted. If it changes from low to high, then clear, dry weather can be predicted. Excuse me. Number 12, why does the jet stream move from west to east across North America? The jet stream moves from west to east mostly due to the unequal heating of the earth and the direction of the rotation of the earth that drives all the winds, right? We are rotating. Number 14 says, draw a diagram or a model and explain with words the lake effect phenomenon in Michigan. So here would be like Lake Michigan. Here's the cold air crossing over it, and water is evaporating. The air rises, it condenses, and then it precipitates a lot of snow or rain right here when it hits the cooler land. Okay, so I really just wrote cold air picks up heat and moisture as it travels over a Great Lake. When it reaches land, it cools and produces lots of precipitation. Make sure you ask any questions that you have before you decide to take the test. We have 3 last questions. How are areas surrounding the Great Lakes affected by lake effect snow? So areas close to the west coast have lots more snow than areas farther away or east of the Great Lakes, just because after it passes over land, it dries out, less precipitation. 16. Draw a diagram or a model that shows how ocean currents are related to climate. So if there's a cold current and the wind blows over it towards the landmass, then the landmass will cool down. If it's a warm current and wind blows over it, then the landmass will be relatively warm. So what I wrote was, as currents flow along the edges of continents, they affect the temperature. Along the west coast of California, a cool current keeps the temperatures lower near the water. If you go to California hanging out on land, once you get close to the beach, within about a mile of the beach, the temperature literally drops like 10 degrees because the cooler current keeps it cooler. Number 17, explain how ocean currents affect air temperatures around the world. As air masses move, they acquire or they gain the temperatures of the land or water that they pass over. So ocean current temperatures affect the temperatures and humidity, which is water vapor, carried to nearby land, and it affects them in a cool or warm way depending on the temperature of the ocean current. So if the ocean current is warm, then the land nearby is warm. If it's cool, then the land nearby is cool. If it's a cold area and warm water is headed that direction, it tends to warm up, and water really is kind of a weather moderator. It keeps things nice and mild, not extreme temperature changes, because the water tends to moderate that. Unlike land. Land does not do that. All right, good luck on your test.